I'm going to start off this review by stating I have an intense, maybe unhealthy obsession with Nicolas Winding Refn's film Drive. It was the first and last film I saw by him before The Neon Demon. I have not seen Valhalla Rising before it, or Only God Forgives after. Drive for me was one film that really got my blood pumping and appreciating and developing my taste for cinema. It was a film that felt very together. Everything that was visual felt necessary, and everything audible was a rumbling, complimenting undertone. And not only was the film beautiful in those aspects, but it had a literary prowess of metaphor to back its narrative. I would love to dive into it sometime later, but for the meantime, if this interests you, I would strongly advise you to see Chris Stuckman's analyzed video of it. It is great. The reason I bring up Drive is because had I not seen that film, I probably would not have a strong desire to see The Neon Demon almost immediately when it was playing nearby. Refn's name is attached to his powerful style that I like to compare to Stanley Kubrick or Denis Villeneuve insofar as inherent psychological mystery contained within their films. So I came in with the expectation of something tight-knit. Long story short, that's not what I got. The Neon Demon features Elle Fanning as Jessie, an up-and-coming fashion model whose past is clouded in anecdotal mystery. She makes her stay in Los Angeles wary and conscious of her vulnerability as an amateur. Along the way, she meets a slightly romantic photographer named Dean and a very supportive makeup artist named Ruby. She also is involved in some rivalry in the industry, but I'll get back to that soon. The film follows Jessie climbing up the ranks with a suspicious speed. She lands more opportunities, the rest of the characters start to zero in on her, like maggots to a fresh carcass. While the film seems to start off centering on Jessie's arc, the rest of the characters assume more significant roles the further along it gets. Two of these characters, Sarah and Gigi, are thrown by Jessie's sudden appearance. Since they too are models attempting to secure positions, they are forced to compete with Jessie. That's probably enough plot explaining that I'm willing to give without specifying into the stranger and more nebulous aspects of the film. After I left this film, I didn't feel dissatisfied, but more along the lines of hollowness. This film already has a reputation of walkouts, and in the case of some people in my theater, utter laughter at its obtuseness. However, I never wanted to laugh while I was watching. I audibly gasped multiple times. I didn't come in expecting a horror film, because at its core, that's what The Neon Demon is. It's a 117-minute long music video, glamour photo shoot, and horror film. When I think back to the loaded, gorgeous cinematography of Natasha Breyer, each second is a still from a Vanity Fair magazine or Sia music video. I had a conversation with my friend immediately after this film, trying to figure out what The Neon Demon and Nicolas Winding Refn were trying to say with all this. We came to a couple of different conclusions. Perhaps the simplest was the real horror of the fashion industry, the extent in which you have to objectify yourself to participate and by extension, lose your humanity in the process. No matter if you are the agent, the makeup stylist, the photographer, or the model, you are complicit in a purposefully streamlined contest with beauty as a selling point. As consumers, it's easy to detach ourselves from just how much is invested in a photo shoot, and this film really tugs at that investment. But it isn't sentimental about it. It is composed. Everything has a place, and everything is in its place. The next conclusion was about a specific quote in the film said near the beginning. I don't want to spoil it at all because I think it's an important conversation, but it has to do with a "are you this or that" statement. Hopefully, if you've already seen the film, you can surmise which quote I mean, but for the unviewed, the nature of the quote has to do with the choices that Jessie ends up making for herself. She's given a golden opportunity throughout the film to situate her identity, and Refn does an amazing job at making those choices seem like they aren't accidents. For me, this film holds no chaos, no uncontrolled entity. Everything, like I said before, has a place, and I think Jessie's awakening constellates between the question she was asked in the beginning. Sorry if this conclusion seems way too abstract, I just don't want to spoil what I think is an essential part of the film watching experience. I want to take another moment to talk about the seemingly supernatural elements present in the film. It may be my fault for not expecting them, but I think I would have been caught off guard regardless. This film is absolutely more fashion than function. At least half of the reason I came out of the film feeling hollow was because some of the more visual, metaphorically experimental parts of the film felt blatantly disjointed and abrupt. It disintegrated the pacing of the film's narrative, which I felt was abandoned each time these elements were used. So it was narrative, weird thing, continued narrative, weird thing, narrative. And soon enough, it all blends together as fashion and function, some kind of fashion amalgam that can't find anywhere because its eyes have been eaten by its eyes. I won't mark these segments as purely negative because, again, they are beautiful, but I do feel led on by the film, making me believe that there would be more story in what turned out to be a runway version of 2001: A Space Odyssey. The Neon Demon is a film. There are characters that are acted phenomenally. There is music that is exceptional. It reminded me of Disaster Piece's score for It Follows. But like an empty Blu-ray case, the film depends on you to appreciate its art, its cover, its typeface, because when you open it, there isn't a Blu-ray there. It's more of the sensation you get from knowing that it looks so good. This is an experimental film through and through. It is not for everybody. It will make you think, and think about what is it exactly you're supposed to be thinking about. It's not completely pleasant either. It's shocking, grotesque, and illogical. As a consumer, I don't recommend this film for everyone. This is a film for people who want to challenge themselves and diversify their film viewing experience. There is no other film like this. But for filmmakers, I do think this is a necessary film to see purely because of its aesthetic. It is light on plot but hits heavy on the design, staging, blocking, lighting, and color. Your eyes will die multiple times in this film and resurrect every time the scene changes. If you are like me, expecting this film to be at least a little bit like Drive, it isn't. It is far different, loose to a fault, but incredible in its own visual imagination. I have so much more to say about the Neon Demon, but I think this will do for now. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'd love reading your interpretations in the comments. There will be more reviews to come, and if you really need a score, thanks for watching.